So this is our city. We have a Mongol threat. Grew over time. And soon we found ourselves in the first wave of an all-out battle. Initially there was skirmishes, but this was the first time an entire army descended upon us. They came from the east, and we have fortified our eastern wall with as many fortifications as we can afford. What was initially a farming town has grown into a well-fortified city with armies and military operations everywhere. The first wave was quickly disbanded, but we sustained massive casualties. As you can see here, we lost many knights. Many of them were descended from the first settlers of this city. No one knew where the Mongols came from, and no one knew where they began to have these behemoths of siege weaponry, far larger than our trebuchets. Their horsemen carry bows and arrows, and that's devastating for us because their archery is superb. That said, our ranged longbowmen managed to keep them at bay. So yes, we survived the first wave. But what's next? This is a second wave, but not really an attack, because a group of brave knights circled them from the back to try to remove their siege weaponry. Because if they had left it alone, then they would have torn down our walls. Unfortunately, what started out as 7 brave knights, they were reduced to just 3. Meanwhile, our archers were standing by. A group of raiders decided to go attack their village population. We managed to, quell a few of their villages, but their military responded very swiftly. Luckily, in a previous exploration, we managed to build a tower, and the men retreated to the tower for safety. They went down to do multiple raids, actually, but unfortunately, their time was at an end. The Mongolian army responded in force, and very sadly, none of the men made it back. Meanwhile, skirmishes carried on throughout the land. We trained our knights to ride swiftly, and at the moment's notice, our beacons were lit and our military response was swift. Our knights were more well-armored, well-trained, but they somehow pulled the numbers. This is the second wave. We had mercenaries at the front, but again, they were no match for the horde. Our archers tried to stop their march into the city, but there were too many. A couple of knights rode from the left to attack their infantry. After devastating defeat, many of our men lay dead. Our walls hold, but reinforcements came. Yet it is still too devastating. They're just too many. Most of the attrition were done via the walls and the fortresses, but the battle zone beneath and above had our men totally destroyed. Brave men lay dead just outside their homes. We are fortunate that their arrows cannot penetrate our walls. However, their siege were deadly. We wondered where they got the technology. They were quite primitive, maybe a decade ago. There were rumors that there might be traitors among our midst that revealed the technology to them. Or they could have procured some tech from newfound land or newly conquered land, perhaps to the north. The problem was the area that they often attack, the Eastern Front. That's the route for traders. We have a trading post to the north, which they are now attacking. It has a natural fortification because it's on a hill. It is on a hill. Now this wave was just as deadly. But we've had a few months between the last few waves of attack, and our knights are more trained. Still, they were deadly. I want to point out that a brave group of knights managed to circle them again and destroyed their siege weapons from the back. Unfortunately, they were cut down by their infantry because the siege weaponry from the front turned back and assisted in decimating them. The city was once again besieged, and our fortifications began to fall, one after another. Inside the city, terror swept our people. We don't know if this can even last. Each one of our fortifications were taken down, and the men inside it destroyed. But somehow, they retreated as soon as the fortifications were taken down. But as history unfolded, there were a group of knights, and I wish to really highlight this. They pursued them, thinking that only the siege weaponry were left standing, and the army had been destroyed. They were wrong. The army came swiftly to protect the siege weaponry and defeated our knights. We were no match for their numbers and technology. So ends the battle. We began writing for reinforcements. What any help that we can muster. And so villagers from surrounding lands would come down with their spears and pitchforks, any experience of battle, they would pursue us. We know where they are. We've seen the land. And now we're about to attack it. However, these group of people are not trained, they are not strategic, and they were overconfident, thinking that the enemy has retreated. No, they were collecting their forces, and very quickly they did away with our small attack force. And they counterattacked, but our forces from within the city poured out and destroyed them. We managed to quell another attack, and that includes the siege weaponry. Keep coming over and over again. These were a formidable enemy. Don't let the simplicity fool you. Skirmishes continued throughout the land. There were 2 brave crossbowmen who held the middle sacred areas between the 2 cities. We have a Sultan military base in northern city. Soon we found ourselves under attack again, but our natural barrier stopped their ascent. Somehow there might be a change in leadership or something. We found that a lot of them started to defect and retreat from battle. Our commander got a stop to the retreat and killed every single one. None were left alive. Reinforcements came and remobilized them. We rode and marched to the Mongol camp. I would say the Mongol city. The 2 crossbowmen, however, met with a deadly end. The men who had been defending the city merged with the reinforcements to march on. This was our final stand. We were lucky and strategic because the siege of the market town to the north continued, and they cannot penetrate the steep cliffs. But because they had siege weapons, they flattened the town. They destroyed the marketplace and the town center with it. We managed to evacuate our villages. Our civilians ran back to the main city. And meanwhile, many of their forces kept retreating. They didn't put up a fight. They did not attack us. They just tried to run away. There were a few that did try to attack us, but we had our mercenaries protecting ourselves. And we made sure none managed to escape. So in a way, we've got them cornered, because the pathway to escape is no more. Now, our military marched on. The combined forces of the Alliance and the people from within the city marched towards a somewhat empty Mongolian base. We knew their army was still busy trying to climb our market town. So this is the perfect time to attack. In this battle, the archers were initially misdirected. They were attacking buildings when they were much more needed at the front. We spotted a nest of bees. Something that can destroy our infantry quickly, but we managed to kill them off. Our men scurried through the tents, and it was guerrilla warfare. We're fighting street to street. The villagers ran, and we caught them near the marketplace and cut them down. We torched their entire village, their entire town, actually. We destroyed every monument, every tent, every brick, every stone. And we called upon everyone from the city, anyone who can fight and burn and pillage, to come forth. And they came, and they helped destroy and level the entire town. This threat must be stopped immediately, until all that's left are the people within their town center. We cornered it, having destroyed everything else around it, and we spared no quarter. Every Mongolian was killed. None survived. All the villagers, priests, we burned the whole place down. We thought we had victory. The men were excited, but we had reports that a few villagers managed to escape, or they had encampments elsewhere. So we went on a wild hunt to the south. Of course, there were natural threats, but they weren't much of a trouble. We saw signs that they have expanded a lot of their operations elsewhere. And we have found out the reason why they're not eliminated yet. It's because their leader was still alive. One of our men fought hand-to-hand combat with the Khan. And even when he was fully shielded, fully armored, the Khan was on a horseback and he won. He managed our men down. Our scout was around the area, and he thought that he could take on the Khan himself. He, too, met with a deadly end. This was a formidable leader. After returning to the area, we couldn't find the Khan, but we could find the military of the Mongols, still within the foot with the hills. There was still a fight, but our army was scattered. So we had to rally everyone and take them on. The loud explosions from the cannons told us that they still had some fight in them. We pulled back to the main force so that we can cut them down. We know that the siege will take much longer to come. So we had glorious victory on hand-to-hand melee combat. And finally, when their horsemen came, this, without us knowing, was actually our last fight. Every man to the front. This was a battle to the north of their encampments. This was their last stand, as what was ours. Our knights know enough about their tactics, and they rode forward. They rode forward and destroyed their siege. But the siege weaponry to the north that attacked us from the flanks actually destroyed a lot of our infantry. This was costly. This fight was costly. As were every battle. This was not an easy enemy. We did not dominate any single battle. But in the end, we managed to destroy them.